The hospital ship Compassion moved through the darkness of space like a gentle giant. Its white hull gleamed under the distant stars, marked with the red cross symbol that everyone in the galaxy knew. Inside the ship, Commander Han Jiwoo stood on the bridge watching the scanner screens with tired eyes. He had been awake for 20 hours straight, but that was normal for him. Jiwoo was a tall man with gray starting to show in his black hair. He wore the simple blue uniform of the Earth Relief and Care Services, not the military green that soldiers wore. His uniform had no weapons, no armor plates, just a medical symbol on his shoulder. That was how humans worked. They came to help, not to fight. "Commander, we have another distress signal," said Ensign Choi Yuna from her station. She was young, only 23, with bright eyes that still showed hope for the galaxy. Jiwoo envied that hope sometimes. "Put it through," Jiwoo said. The message crackled with static and fear. It was a voice speaking in broken universal standard, the language that most species use to communicate. "This is Refugee Convoy Delta 7. We are under attack, caught between Dravik and Kelthera forces. Many wounded. Children dying. Please, anyone who can hear this, please help us." Then the message cut off. Jiwoo closed his eyes for a moment. He knew what this meant. The Dravik Empire and the Kelthera Coalition had been at war for 5 years now. Millions had died. Whole planets had burned, and between the two armies, civilians suffered the most. Refugees tried to escape the war zones, but they often got caught in the crossfire. "Where are they?" Jiwoo asked. "Velix Nebula, Outer Edge, Sector 42, Yuna replied. Her fingers danced across her controls. "It's deep in the conflict zone, Commander. Both fleets operate there. How many ships do we have nearby?" "Just us, the Healing Hand, and the Mercy's Gift, all 3 hospital ships." Jiwoo nodded slowly. 3 ships, 3 unarmored hospital ships full of doctors and nurses. They would be going into a war zone where massive battleships fired weapons that could crack planets. It was dangerous. Maybe even stupid, but it was also exactly what humans did. "Get me Captain Lee Hyunwoo," Jiwoo said. A few seconds later, the face of Captain Lee appeared on the main screen. Hyunwoo was younger than Jiwoo, but his eyes looked older. He commanded the small military escort that followed the medical ships. 3 frigates. Fast, tough little ships, but not nearly enough to fight a real battle. "I heard the distress call," Hyunwoo said before Jiwoo could speak. "You're thinking of responding." "I am responding," Jiwoo corrected him. "The question is whether you'll come with us or wait here." Hyunwoo sighed. It was the sigh of a man who had this conversation before. "Jiwoo, it's a war zone. My 3 frigates can't protect you against fleet battleships. If either the Dravik or Kelthera decide they don't like you being there, we won't be able to stop them. We're a medical ship. We have protections under galactic law." "Galactic law," Hyunwoo repeated, his voice flat. "You know how well that works when planets are burning." Jiwoo turned away from the screen and looked at his crew. He saw Yuna at communications. He saw Navigator Park Taemin plotting courses. He saw Dr. Park Minji standing at the back of the bridge, her medical coat clean and white, her face serious. She had been listening to everything. Minji stepped forward. "There are children dying out there," she said quietly. "That message said children." "I know," Hyunwoo replied. "I heard it too, and I know what you're going to do. You're going to go no matter what I say. Because you're humans, and humans have this stupid, beautiful idea that you can save everyone." Jiwoo allowed himself a small smile. "Will you come with us?" "Of course I will," Hyunwoo said. "Someone has to keep you idiots alive. Give me 10 minutes to get my ships ready." The screen went dark. Jiwoo turned to his crew. "You heard him. We leave in 10 minutes. Yuna, send messages to the Healing Hand and Mercy's Gift. Tell them we're responding to the distress call. They can join us or stay behind. Their choice." "Yes, Commander," Yuna said. Jiwoo already knew what they would choose. The other 2 medical ships had crews just like his. Humans who joined the Earth Relief and Care Services because they wanted to help people, because they believed that in a galaxy full of war and hate, someone had to show compassion. The humans had been in space for 200 years now. When they first met other alien species, everyone expected them to be warriors. Humans came from Earth, a planet with a violent history, thousands of years of wars and conflicts, but the humans who went to the stars were different. They were tired of fighting. They wanted something better, so humans became the doctors of the galaxy, the aid workers, the peacekeepers who didn't carry guns. They built hospital ships and medical stations. They went to war zones and treated everyone equally. It didn't matter if you were Dravik or Kelthera. human or alien. If you were hurt, humans would help you. Other species thought this was strange. Some thought it was weak. The Dravik Empire especially looked down on humans. They believed strength was everything. To them, humans were soft, easy to push around, but humans didn't care what others thought. They kept doing their work. Dr. Minji walked up to stand beside Jiwoo. She was his oldest friend. They had joined the ERCS together 15 years ago, both young and idealistic. She was shorter than him, with her hair cut short for convenience. Her hands were steady. Surgeon's hands. You know this could go wrong, she said quietly. It could, Jiwoo agreed. We could all die out there. We could. But we're going anyway. We are. Minji nodded. Good, I'll get the medical teams ready. If there are as many wounded as that message suggested, we'll need every bed and every hand. She left the bridge, already calling out orders to her staff. Jiwoo watched her go and felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. Command was heavy. Every decision could mean life or death, not just for his crew, but for the people they were trying to save. Commander, Yuna called out. Both ships replied. They're coming with us. Good, Jiwoo said. Plot the fastest course to those coordinates. Take us through the nebula if you have to. Speed matters more than caution right now. The navigator's fingers flew across his console. Course plotted. Jump in 5 minutes. Jiwoo sat down in his command chair and strapped in. Around him, the crew prepared for jump. It was a routine they had done hundreds of times, but it never felt routine. Every jump into a crisis zone carried risk. He thought about the message again. Children dying. In all his years of service, that never got easier to hear. The galaxy was so big, full of so many worlds and species, and yet everywhere children suffered when adults made war. All ships report ready, Yuna announced. Captain Hyunwoo's frigates are in escort positions, added Taemin. Jiwoo took a deep breath. Take us in. The Compassion and her sister ships jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the Velix Nebula. Heading toward a war zone. Heading toward people who needed help. None of them knew that this would be the last time humans went into danger, believing that compassion alone would protect them. None of them knew that in a few hours everything would change. The galaxy was about to learn something about humans, something important. Silence did not mean acceptance. Mercy did not mean weakness. And attacking those who heal meant facing something the galaxy had never seen before, something that had been sleeping for 200 years, waiting. Humanity's rage. The Velix Nebula was beautiful in a terrible way. Purple and blue gases swirled in the darkness like paint mixing in water. Inside that beauty, people were dying. The Compassion dropped out of hyperspace first, followed by the other 2 hospital ships and Captain Hyunwoo's 3 frigates. Immediately, the scanners lit up with contacts. Ships, hundreds of them. Reading multiple vessels, Yuna reported, her voice tight. Refugee transports mostly. Old cargo ships converted to carry people. But I'm also picking up warship signatures. Dravik Empire vessels on the left flank. Kelthera Coalition ships on the right. Commander Jiwoo studied the tactical display. The refugee ships were clustered in the middle of the nebula, caught between 2 military forces. The smart thing would be to run. To jump away and save themselves. But Jiwoo had never been good at doing the smart thing when people needed help. Broadcast our identity on all channels, he ordered. Make sure everyone knows we're medical ships, non-combatants. We're here for the wounded only. Broadcasting now, Yuna said. Sending in Universal Standard, Dravik Military Code, and Kelthera Standard. Dr. Minji's voice came over the intercom. Medical teams are standing by. We're ready to receive patients. Good, Jiwoo replied. He opened a channel to the other ships. This is Commander Jiwoo to all vessels. Standard rescue protocol. We take anyone who needs help. No questions about what side they're on. Understood? Acknowledgements came back from both the Healing Hand and Mercy's Gift. Captain Hyunwoo, keep your frigates in a defensive screen, but don't target anyone unless they fire first. Copy that, Hyunwoo responded. But Jiwoo, I don't like this. The Dravik ships are moving. They're forming up. Jiwoo saw it too. The Dravik warships were reorganizing, turning to face the nebula's center. Where the refugees were, where the humans had just arrived. Maybe they're just being cautious, Yuna suggested, but her voice didn't sound convinced. Maybe, Jiwoo said. He didn't believe it either. The Compassion moved toward the refugee ships carefully. Around them, the civilian vessels looked like they had been through hell. Hull plating was scorched. Some ships vented atmosphere. A few were barely holding together. "Start docking procedures," Jiwoo ordered. "Get those people aboard." The next hour was chaos, but it was the kind of chaos that medical crews knew how to handle. Refugees streamed onto the 3 hospital ships. Humans in white coats moved among them, treating wounds, giving medicine, offering comfort. There were Kelthera civilians, gray-skinned and exhausted. There were other species too, even a few Dravik civilians who had fled their own empire. Nurse Kim Sujin worked in one of the main medical bays. She was 26 years old and had joined the ERCS because her grandmother had been a war nurse back on Earth. Sujin believed in the work, believed that healing people mattered more than anything else. She held the hand of a Kelthera child, while Dr. Minji treated a bad burn on the child's leg. The child was crying, making sounds that crossed species barriers. Pain was universal, so was fear. "You're going to be okay," Sujin said softly, even though she wasn't sure the child understood Korean. "We've got you now. You're safe." She wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe that the red cross on her uniform meant something. On the bridge, Commander Jiwoo watched the rescue operation continue. They had taken aboard over 400 refugees so far. The Healing Hand and Mercy's Gift were doing the same. Thousands of people were being saved. Then Yuna's board lit up with an alert. "Commander, I'm picking up a new contact. Big one. Just dropped out of hyperspace." She paused, her fingers flying over controls. "It's a Dravik battle carrier. Fleet command ship." Jiwoo felt his stomach tighten. A battle carrier meant an admiral. It meant a fleet commander who could make decisions without asking permission from home. "Hail them," Jiwoo said. "Remind them who we are." Yuna opened a channel. "Dravik vessel, this is the ERCS Compassion. We are a protected medical ship under Galactic Convention. We are treating wounded and refugees. We request you respect our neutral status." The response came quickly. A face appeared on the screen. It was a Dravik admiral, his scales the deep red that marked high rank. His eyes were cold. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Krivesh of the Dravik Empire. You are harboring enemy combatants. You will surrender all Kelthera refugees immediately." "Admiral," Jiwoo said, standing up. "We're treating patients, not soldiers. Everyone aboard our ships is a civilian or wounded. We don't take sides in your war." "You took a side when you helped them," Krivesh growled. "The Kelthera are our enemies. Everyone who helps them is also our enemy." "We're protected under the Medical Neutrality Convention," Jiwoo insisted. "You signed that treaty. Your empire agreed to respect medical vessels." "I don't care about your treaty," Krivesh said. His face filled the screen, all rage and scales. "You humans think you can go anywhere, do anything, because you wave your little red symbol around. You think you're special. You're not. You're weak, and the weak don't make demands of the strong." Jiwoo felt ice in his veins. He had dealt with hostile commanders before, but something about Krivesh was different. This wasn't just anger. It was contempt, complete disregard. "Admiral, please. There are children aboard these ships. Wounded who can't fight. We're just trying to help them." "Then you'll die with them," Krivesh said. The channel cut off. For a moment, nobody on the bridge moved. Nobody spoke. They all stared at the blank screen, trying to process what they had just heard. "He wouldn't," Yuna whispered. "He can't. It's against every law. Every rule." "Captain Hyunwoo," Jiwoo said urgently. "Get your ships between us and that battle carrier. Now." But Hyunwoo was already moving. All frigates, defensive formation. Shields to maximum. The Dravik fleet opened fire. The first salvo hit the Healing Hand. The hospital ship's shields, designed only to stop debris and radiation, collapsed instantly. Energy weapons tore through the hull. Secondary explosions rippled along the ship's length. In 3 seconds, it was gone. Just debris and bodies floating in space, 300 people. Doctors, nurses, engineers, patients, gone. "No," Dr. Minji breathed from where she stood in the medical bay, watching through a viewport. "No, no, no!" The Compassion shook as weapons fire hit her shields. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. "Shields at 40%, someone shouted. "Hull breach on deck 7, another voice called out. "Return fire," Jiwoo heard himself say, but even as he said it, he knew it was useless. The Compassion had no weapons. It was a hospital ship. It had shields and armor and nothing else. Captain Hyunwoo's frigates tried to fight back. They were brave and fast, but they were so outmatched it was almost laughable. One frigate died in the first exchange. Another was crippled, venting atmosphere. "Get us out of here," Jiwoo ordered. "Emergency jump, now!" "We can't," Taemin said, his voice breaking. "They're jamming our jump engines. We're trapped." Another hit. The Compassion lurched sideways. Deck plating buckled. Somewhere below, Jiwoo heard screams. In the medical bay, the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, painting everything red. Sujin still held the Kelthera child's hand. Around them, other patients were crying out in fear. Some tried to run. Others just froze. Dr. Minji grabbed the intercom. "All medical personnel remain at your stations. Keep the patients calm." But her own hands were shaking. Another massive hit struck the bridge. Jiwoo was thrown from his chair. Sparks rained down from broken conduits. He tasted blood in his mouth. Yuna was slumped over her console, not moving. Taemin was on the floor, holding his arm at a wrong angle. Jiwoo crawled to the communications station. His fingers found the controls. He had to warn Earth, had to tell them what happened. "This is Commander Han Jiwoo of the Compassion," he gasped into the transmitter. "To Earth Command. Red Cross attacked. Hospital ships destroyed. The Dravik Empire attacked medical vessels. They killed. The bridge exploded around him. In space, the Mercy's gift tried to run. It was the newest of the 3 hospital ships, the fastest. It almost made it to jump distance. Almost." The Dravik battle carrier's main weapons hit it dead center. The ship broke in half. Captain Hyunwoo's last frigate, damaged and dying, broadcast one final message. "Earth Command, this is Captain Lee Hyunwoo. They attacked the medical ships. They murdered everyone. Then silence. Admiral Krivesh watched the burning wreckage on his screens. Around him, his bridge crew looked uncomfortable. Some looked shocked. They had just attacked hospital ships. Killed healers. It went against everything, every rule of war. "Admiral," one officer said quietly, "those were protected vessels. The humans will respond to this," Krivesh laughed. It was a harsh, grinding sound. "The humans? Those weaklings? Let them cry about it. Let them complain to their Galactic Council. Nothing will change. The strong rule, the weak die. That's the way of the universe." He looked at the debris field one more time. "Take us back to base. And if anyone asks, we were defending ourselves against hostile vessels." The Dravik fleet jumped away, leaving only wreckage and bodies behind. In the ruins of the Compassion, Commander Jiwoo opened his eyes. His vision was blurry. His ears rang. But he was alive. Somehow he was alive. Around him, the bridge was destroyed. He could see space through a huge tear in the hull. Emergency force fields kept the atmosphere in, but they flickered weakly. He found the emergency transmitter in the wreckage. The message reached Earth Command at 347 hours station time. It was broken, crackling with static, but the words were clear enough. "Earth Command. Red Cross attacked. They killed the healers." Admiral Kang Taejin was woken from sleep by the duty officer. He arrived at the command center, still putting on his uniform jacket. What he saw on the screens made him stop breathing. The tactical display showed the Valix Nebula. It showed 3 hospital ships. Or rather, it showed where 3 hospital ships used to be. Now there was only debris. Bodies. Wreckage marked with red crosses that meant nothing anymore. "Get me everything," Taejin said quietly. "Every sensor recording. Every transmission. Every piece of data we have." The staff moved quickly. Within minutes, Taejin was watching drone footage that made his blood turn to ice. He saw the healing hand explode under Dravik weapons fire. He saw the Compassion try to flee, shields collapsing. He saw the Mercy's gift break apart. The ships had been broadcasting their medical status. The red crosses were clearly visible. There was no confusion, no accident. This was murder. "How many?" Taejin asked. "Sir?" "How many dead?" The duty officer checked her data pad. Her voice shook. "Over 800 medical personnel across the 3 ships, plus approximately 2,000 refugees they were treating. Nearly 3,000 people, dead for the crime of helping others." Taejin had been in the Earth Defense Fleet for 40 years. He had fought in border skirmishes. He had negotiated with pirates. He had seen combat. But he had never seen anything like this. Nobody had. Because for 200 years, everyone in the galaxy respected one rule above all others. You didn't attack the healers. "Get me President Nam," Taejin said. "And get me General Baek. Wake up the entire Defense Council. We're going to need everyone." Within an hour, Earth's leadership gathered in the secure conference room deep beneath the command center. President Nam Soo-jin sat at the head of the table. She was 62 years old, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. She had been a doctor once before going into politics. She had worked with the ERCS in her younger days. Beside her sat General Baek Jin-woo, Chief of Military Operations. He was younger than Tae-jin, but his face looked carved from stone. And there was Ambassador Yoon Yoon-ji, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, attending via hologram link from the council station. "Show me," President Nam said simply. Admiral Tae-jin played the recordings. He played the distress calls. He played the footage of hospital ships burning. He played everything. When it was done, the room was silent. President Nam's hands were flat on the table. Her knuckles were white. "Survivors?" she asked. "The compassion is still partially intact. We're getting reports of some survivors in sealed sections. Maybe 50 people. Maybe less. Rescue ships are on the way. Captain Hyunwoo?" "Dead, ma'am. His last frigate was destroyed." President Nam closed her eyes. She had known Hyunwoo, had given him a medal once for bravery. He had been 34 years old, had a wife and a daughter back on Earth. "The Dravik Empire did this," General Beck said. His voice was flat, controlled. But Tae-jin knew that voice. It was the voice of a man holding back rage with everything he had. Admiral Krivesh commanded the fleet. "We have his communications." He threatened the medical ships, then ordered the attack. "Has he claimed responsibility?" Ambassador Yoon asked. "No, the Dravik Empire is calling it a misunderstanding. They claim the hospital ships were carrying weapons, harboring enemy combatants." "That's a lie," Tae-jin said sharply. "Our ships broadcast their medical status. The drones recorded everything. This was a deliberate attack on clearly marked non-combatants." President Nam opened her eyes. "Ambassador Yoon, what is the Galactic Council saying?" Yoon's hologram flickered slightly. She looked tired, disappointed. "The Council has offered condolences. They've called for an investigation, but—" She paused. "Ma'am, they're not going to do anything. The Dravik Empire has too much influence, too much power. Some council members are already saying that Earth's ships shouldn't have been in a war zone." "We were answering a distress call," Tae-jin said. "I know, but the council won't act. They never do." President Nam stood up. She walked to the wall screen that showed Earth from orbit. Her planet, her people. For 200 years they had chosen peace. They had chosen to heal instead of hurt, to help instead of harm, and this was how the galaxy repaid them. "General Bayek," she said without turning around. "Tell me about our military capabilities." Beck straightened. "Ma'am, the Earth Defense Fleet currently has 2,400 warships of various classes. We have been building and maintaining this fleet for defensive purposes for the past 50 years. And how does that compare to other galactic powers? It makes us the largest military force in known space, ma'am. By a significant margin." President Nam turned to look at him. "The largest?" "Yes, ma'am. Most species don't maintain large fleets during peacetime. It's expensive. They build ships when they need them. But we've been building continuously, quietly. We call it the Defense Fleet, but—" He paused. "Ma'am, we could defeat any 3 galactic powers combined. Possibly any 5. Ambassador Yoon looked shocked. "I didn't know that." "Almost nobody does," Admiral Tae-jin said. "We kept it quiet. We didn't want to be seen as a threat. We just wanted to be ready, in case someone ever attacked us." "And now someone has," President Nam said quietly. She walked back to the table and sat down. For a long moment, she just looked at the images on the screens. Dead medical personnel. Burning ships. Bodies floating in space. "For 200 years," she said softly, "we have been the galaxy's healers. We have asked for nothing except that our medical workers be respected, that when we come to help, we are not harmed." Her voice grew harder. "That respect has been answered with murder." She looked at each person in the room. "I will not let this stand. I will not allow 800 medical personnel to die without response. I will not permit the galaxy to think that attacking human healers is acceptable." "Madam President," Ambassador Yoon said carefully, "if we respond militarily, it could start a larger war." "The war has already started," President Nam replied. "The Dravik Empire started it when they opened fire on hospital ships. Now we will finish it," she turned to General Beck. "How long to mobilize the fleet?" "To full mobilization? 72 hours. You have 48. I want every warship we have ready to move. I want the entire Earth Defense Fleet on alert." "Yes, ma'am." Admiral Tajin, you will command the fleet personally. Your mission is simple. Find Admiral Krivesh. Find every ship that participated in the attack, and make sure they face justice. Tajin felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. Understood, ma'am. President Nam stood again. I'm going to address Earth. The people need to know what happened. They need to know what we're going to do about it. 6 hours later, every screen on Earth showed the same image. President Nam Soo-jin standing in front of the Earth flag, her face calm but her eyes burning. My fellow humans, she began. Today I must tell you of a tragedy. 3 of our hospital ships, the Compassion, the Healing Hand, and the Mercy's Gift, were destroyed in the Valix Nebula. They were attacked while treating wounded refugees. 800 medical personnel are dead. 2,000 patients are dead. She paused, letting the numbers sink in. For 200 years, we have chosen peace. We have healed the galaxy's wounded. We have fed the hungry. We have sheltered the refugees. We have asked only that our healers be respected, that when we come with medicine instead of weapons, we are not harmed. Her voice grew colder. That respect has been answered with murder. Hospital ships, clearly marked with the Red Cross, were deliberately targeted and destroyed by the Dravik Empire. This was not an accident. This was not a mistake. This was a choice. On Earth, billions of people watched. In homes and offices and public squares, they saw their president's face. They heard her words, and they felt something they hadn't felt in a very long time. Anger. The Galactic Council has offered empty words, President Nam continued. They send condolences but refuse to act. They tell us that this is what happens in war zones, that we should have stayed away. She leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. We will not accept this. We will not allow the murder of healers to go unpunished. The Earth Defense Fleet is being mobilized. We will find those responsible. We will ensure this never happens again. Some will say we should remain peaceful. That violence is not the answer. To them, I say this. We did not choose this path. We did not want this. But we will not abandon our people. We will not let their sacrifice mean nothing. The galaxy will learn today that human silence does not mean acceptance, that human peace does not mean weakness, that attacking those who heal means facing consequences the galaxy has never seen. She stepped back. To the families of those who died, your loved ones were heroes. They died doing what was right. We will honor them by ensuring justice is served. To the Dravik Empire, you have made a terrible mistake, and you will answer for it. The broadcast ended. Across Earth, people sat in stunned silence. Then slowly they began to move. Military recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers. Manufacturing facilities that had been idle began producing war material. Shipyards that built peaceful vessels started converting to military production. For 200 years, humanity had been sleeping. The Dravik Empire's outer territories had never seen so many ships at once. The human fleet arrived like a storm made of metal and fire. 2,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, blocking every escape route from the system. Admiral Kang Tajin stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Absolute Zero, watching the tactical displays with cold eyes. Around him, his command crew worked in focused silence. They all knew what they were here to do. Sir, the Dravik Defense Fleet is responding, reported the sensor officer. I count 400 ships. They're moving to intercept. 400 ships. It was a significant force. Any other species would be worried. But Tajin just nodded. Captain Song, you may begin. Captain Song Ji-hoon sat in the command chair, his fingers steepled under his chin. He was young for a capital ship commander, only 36, but he had earned his position through pure skill. All ships, weapons free. Target the military vessels only. Disable if possible. Destroy if necessary. The battle began. The Dravik ships opened fire first, their weapons flashing across the darkness. It was an impressive display. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaking toward the human fleet. The kind of firepower that could conquer solar systems. The human shields absorbed it all without even flickering. Return fire, Song said calmly. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ships didn't just shoot back. They moved like a single organism, each ship positioned perfectly to support the others. Their weapons were precise, calculated. Every shot hit exactly where it was meant to. Dravik ships began to disappear from the tactical display. Target their engines, Song ordered. I want prisoners, not corpses. These ships might have crews who participated in the hospital ship attack. The human fleet adapted instantly. Instead of destroying the Dravik vessels, they crippled them. Engine sections exploded. Power systems went offline. Within minutes, half the Dravik fleet was drifting, helpless. The other half tried to run. Don't let them jump, Taejin said quietly. Specialized human ships activated jamming fields. The Dravik vessels found their hyperspace engines useless. They were trapped, and the human fleet closed in like a vice. On the bridge of a Dravik cruiser, Commander Vikesh watched his fleet die around him. He had been in space combat for 20 years. He had fought the Kelthera, fought pirates, fought rebels. He thought he knew war. He knew nothing. The humans fought with a precision that seemed impossible. Every move was calculated. Every shot was exact. His ships were outnumbered 5-1, but even if the numbers were even, they would still be losing. The technology gap was too large. The skill gap was too large. Get me a channel to the human fleet, Vikesh said, his voice shaking. We surrender. The fighting stopped immediately. One moment, human ships were dismantling the Dravik fleet. The next, they simply stopped. They didn't even need to discuss it. The surrender was transmitted and accepted in seconds. This is Admiral Kang Tae-jin. Of the Earth Defense Fleet, came a voice over the comms. It was calm, almost gentle. To all Dravik vessels, power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate force. You are now prisoners of war. Vikesh gave the orders. His crew looked relieved. At least they would live. But Vikesh knew the truth. This battle wasn't about territory or resources. This was about punishment. And the punishment had only just begun. The human fleet left a garrison to guard the prisoners and jumped deeper into Dravik space. They hit 3 more military installations in the next 6 hours. Each time the pattern was the same. The humans arrived in overwhelming force. They gave the Dravik a chance to surrender. Some did. Those who didn't were destroyed with surgical efficiency. The galaxy watched in shock. News networks scrambled to cover the story. The humans, the quiet healers, had become an army overnight. And they were tearing through one of the galaxy's major powers like it was nothing. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Yoon Yoonji stood before the assembled representatives. The chamber was in chaos. Everyone was shouting, demanding explanations. Ambassador Yoon, the council leader said, her translator making her words sound calm, despite the visible agitation on her face. The Earth fleet has violated Dravik sovereignty. They have attacked military installations without provocation. This is an act of war. Without provocation? Yoon's voice cut through the noise. The chamber went quiet. The Dravik Empire murdered 800 medical personnel. They destroyed hospital ships that were treating wounded. That is the provocation. That incident is under investigation, another counselor said. No, it isn't, Yoon replied coldly. She activated a hologram projector. The chamber filled with images, the recordings from the hospital ships, the clear red cross markings, the communications showing the ships broadcasting their medical status, and then the attack. The deliberate, calculated murder. This is what happened, Yoon said. Admiral Kravesh of the Dravik Empire ordered the destruction of clearly marked medical vessels. This is not in dispute, this is not under investigation, this is fact. Even so, the council leader began, the human response is disproportionate. Disproportionate? Yoon's voice was like ice. You do nothing when our healers are murdered. You offer empty words and useless investigations. You tell us to be patient, to trust in galactic justice. And when we seek justice ourselves, suddenly you care about proportionality? She looked around the chamber. For 200 years we have followed your rules. We have respected your laws. We have been the galaxy's doctors, asking only that our medical personnel be protected. You all signed the Medical Neutrality Convention. You all agreed that attacking healers was beyond acceptable conduct. And then, one of your members violated that agreement and killed our people. And you do nothing. The chamber was silent. The Earth fleet will continue its operations until Admiral Krivesh and everyone who participated in the attack on our hospital ships are brought to justice. This is non-negotiable. Back in Dravik space, Admiral Tajin received reports that Admiral Krivesh had fled toward the Dravik homeworld. The battle carrier Dominance and its escort fleet were running, jumping from system to system, trying to reach safety. How long until we intercept? Tajin asked. At current speeds, 18 hours, the navigation officer replied. Not fast enough. Colonel O, is your team ready? Colonel Oh Hee-jin appeared on the communication screen. She wore black armor, the uniform of Earth's Special Forces. Behind her, Tajin could see 30 more soldiers in similar gear, the best of the best, trained for exactly this kind of mission. We're ready, Admiral, Oh said. Her voice was steady, professional, but Tajin could see the anger in her eyes. Oh had a sister. The sister had been a nurse on the Healing Hand. We're sending you ahead in a fast attack ship, Tajin said. You'll intercept Krivesh's battle carrier before it reaches the homeworld. Board it, take him alive if possible. And if it's not possible, then make sure he doesn't escape. Oh nodded. Understood, sir. The fast attack ship was a new design, one the galaxy hadn't seen before. It was small, fast, and nearly invisible to sensors. It caught up to the Dominance in 6 hours, matching its speed and trajectory without being detected. Colonel O and her team sat in the deployment bay, checking their weapons and equipment. Nobody spoke. They all knew what was at stake. This wasn't just a military operation. This was personal. 1 minute, the pilot announced. O stood up. Remember the mission parameters. We want Krivesh alive. But if anyone tries to stop us, put them down. We're not here to be gentle. The team nodded. The fast attack ship fired magnetic grapples, latching onto the Dominance's hull. Cutting torches burned through the armor plating. Alarms blared on the Dravik ship, but by the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. O and her team poured through the breach like water through a crack. They moved through the Dravik ship with brutal efficiency. Dravik security forces tried to stop them. It didn't work. Human weapons, human training, human determination. The Dravik soldiers didn't stand a chance. O's squad reached the bridge in 12 minutes. They blew the door and entered with weapons raised. Admiral Krivesh stood at his command station surrounded by his crew. He looked at the human soldiers with contempt. You dare board my ship? You dare attack the Dravik Empire? O walked forward slowly, her weapon pointed at his chest. Admiral Krivesh, you are under arrest for war crimes. Specifically, for ordering the attack on Earth medical vessels and the murder of 800 non-combatants. Krivesh laughed. It was the same harsh, grinding sound he had made before. War crimes? There are no crimes in war, only victory and defeat, and you humans are about to learn what defeat means. No, O said quietly. You are. She signaled her team. They moved forward, securing the bridge crew. Krivesh tried to reach for a weapon at his side, but O was faster. She fired once, precisely. The shot hit his hand, destroying the weapon and leaving his hand a ruined mess. Krivesh screamed in pain and rage. That was for my sister, O said. Her voice didn't change, didn't waver. She was a nurse on the Healing Hand. Her name was Kim Jisoo. She was 28 years old. She spent her life helping people. And you killed her. She grabbed Krivesh by his uniform. You're going to stand trial. You're going to face justice. And 6 months after the war, the Galactic Council chambers looked the same as always. The same circular room with seats for hundreds of species. The same grand windows showing the stars beyond. But everything had changed. Earth warships patrolled outside the station. Not many, just enough to make a point. The galaxy's peacekeepers had weapons now, and everyone knew they would use them. Commander Han Ji-woo walked slowly through the corridors leading to the main chamber. He still limped from his injuries. The doctor said he would always limp now. His left arm was cybernetic, the original one lost when the Compassion's bridge exploded. But he was alive. 53 people from the Compassion had survived. Out of 3 ships and nearly 3,000 souls, only 53. Dr. Park Minji walked beside him. She had scars on her face now. From burns she got pulling patients from a damaged medical bay, she wore them without shame. They were proof she had done her job, proof she had tried to save people. Are you ready for this? Minji asked quietly. No, Jiwoo admitted. But we're doing it anyway. They entered the main chamber together. Every seat was filled. Every species representative was present. This was the most important council session in decades, maybe in history. Ambassador Yoon Eunji stood at the central podium. Beside her stood President Nam Soo-jin, who had come personally from Earth. And standing with them, in his full military uniform with admiral stars gleaming, was Admiral Kang Tae-jin. The council leader called the session to order. We are here to discuss the proposed humanity accords, she announced. Ambassador Yoon, you may present. Yoon stepped forward. The Humanity Accords are a new framework for protecting non-combatants in conflict zones. They expand the existing Medical Neutrality Convention with stronger enforcement and clearer definitions. She activated a hologram displaying the treaty terms. Under these accords, medical vessels, refugee ships, and aid workers receive absolute protection. Any attack on clearly marked non-combatants will result in immediate intervention by Earth forces. No warnings, no debates, no waiting for council approval. A murmur ran through the chamber. A representative from the Kaloth Federation stood up. This is imperialism. You're saying Earth will police the entire galaxy? No, President Nam said, her voice calm. We're saying Earth will protect healers and refugees. If you don't attack medical personnel, you have nothing to fear from us. But who decides what counts as a medical vessel? Another counselor asked. Who determines if protection was violated? Admiral Tae-jin spoke for the first time. His voice was measured, controlled. The rules are clear. Medical vessels must be marked according to existing conventions. They must broadcast their status. They must not carry weapons or military personnel. If a ship meets these criteria and is attacked, we respond. And if there's a misunderstanding, the Kaloth representative pressed. If someone makes a mistake, then you'll have time to explain, Tae-jin said. But Admiral Krevesh didn't make a mistake. He knew exactly what he was doing. And now he's serving a life sentence in prison. The trial had been broadcast across the galaxy. Krevesh had been found guilty of war crimes. 14 other Dravik officers had been convicted as well. The message was clear. There were consequences now. A small voice came from the back of the chamber. What if we don't sign? Everyone turned to look. It was a representative from one of the minor powers, a species called the Nithek. They were a warrior culture, proud and independent. President Nam looked at them directly. Then you don't sign. These accords are not mandatory. But know this. Whether you sign or not, Earth will still protect medical personnel in your territory. The only difference is whether you agree with our presence or not. That's a threat, the Nithek representative said. No, Nam replied. It's a promise. We tried it your way. We trusted in galactic law, in the Council's justice, in civilized conduct. 800 of our people died because of that trust. We won't make that mistake again. The chamber was silent. Everyone understood what she meant. The old way was gone. The way where the Council talked endlessly while people died. Where treaties were violated without consequences. Where the strong did what they wanted and the weak suffered. Earth had changed the rules. Commander Jiwoo was called to speak next. He limped to the podium and the entire chamber watched. They all knew who he was. The survivor. The man who had tried to save refugees and was nearly killed for it. I'm not a politician, Jiwoo began. His voice was rough, still damaged from breathing smoke and screaming for help. I'm just a medical officer. All I ever wanted to do was help people. That's what everyone on those ships wanted. We didn't care about politics or power. We just wanted to heal the wounded. He paused, looking around the chamber. We were murdered for it. Not in combat, not by accident. We were murdered deliberately while treating children and refugees, and this council did nothing. Some counselors looked away. Shame was visible on many faces. The Humanity Accords exist because you failed, Jiwoo continued. You had one job, protect those who heal. And you failed. So now we'll do it ourselves. He stepped back. Minji took his place. I pulled 17 patients from the ruins of our medical bay, she said. Her voice was steady, clinical. A doctor's voice. 12 of them died in my arms, not from their original injuries. From wounds they received when Admiral Krevesh decided that helping refugees was a crime worthy of death. She held up a datapad. This contains the names of every medical worker killed that day. 800 names. 800 people who dedicated their lives to healing. I want every representative here to read these names, to know who died, and to understand why we will never let it happen again. The data was transmitted to every terminal in the chamber. Hundreds of names appeared on screens. Ages, specialties, home planets, lives reduced to lists. The council leader spoke quietly. We understand your pain. We acknowledge the tragedy. But surely there must be a compromise. No, President Nam said flatly. There is no compromise. Not on this. Sign the accords or don't. But Earth's policy is set. We will continue our humanitarian work across the galaxy. We will heal the wounded and help the refugees. But anyone who attacks our people will face the full strength of our military. That's not a negotiation. That's reality. A representative from the Kelthera coalition stood. They were one of the species the refugees had belonged to. The Kelthera support these accords fully. Earth saved our people when no one else would. Earth avenged them when they were killed. We stand with humanity. Another species stood, then another. Within minutes, dozens of representatives were expressing support. Small species, weak species, species that had suffered in wars while the council debated. They all knew what it meant to be helpless, to need help that never came. The Kaloth representative stood again. I want to make something clear. My government has concerns about these accords, about Earth's military expansion, about the precedent this sets. He paused. But we will sign, because the alternative is worse, because medical personnel should be protected, and because, he looked directly at Jiwoo, because you were right. The council failed. We all failed. The vote was called. The Humanity Accords passed with near unanimity. Only 3 species abstained. None voted against. After the session ended, Jiwoo and Minji stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. A new ERCS hospital ship passed by the window. It was named Never Again. It was bigger than the old ships with better shields and armor, and it was escorted by 2 Earth frigates that would never leave its side. Do you think it's enough? Minji asked. Do you think we've really changed things? I don't know, Jiwoo admitted. Maybe, maybe not. But at least now there are consequences. At least now people think twice before shooting at a Red Cross. Captain Lee Hyunwoo's daughter, Lee Nari, was down in the medical bay of the Never Again. She was 18 now, training to be a nurse like Nurse Kim Soojin had been. Soojin had survived too, and she was teaching the next generation. Teaching them to heal. Teaching them to be brave. My father died protecting medical ships, Nari had said when she enlisted. I'm going to make sure his death meant something. That was the real change, Jiwoo thought. Not the warships or the treaties. The change was in the people. Humanity had learned they could be both healers and warriors. That compassion and strength weren't opposites. That sometimes to protect what you love, you have to be willing to fight. Ambassador Yoon found them on the observation deck. The first joint patrol starts tomorrow, she said. Earth frigates escorting Kelthera medical ships. Dravik territory has requested our help with a refugee crisis. They want ERCS teams and Earth protection. The Dravik? Minji sounded surprised. After everything? Their government changed after the war. The old military leadership is gone. They're trying to rebuild. Yoon smiled slightly. And they're terrified of us. Which is probably healthy. Jiwoo watched the hospital ship disappear into the distance, heading toward another crisis, another war, another place where people needed help. But this time it wasn't alone. This time it had protection. We're still going to go places we're not wanted, he said. Still going to insert ourselves into conflicts. Still going to make people angry. Yes, Yoon agreed. The difference is they can't kill us for it anymore. Minji added.